And now to Iraq, where the Prime Minister there has condemned the terrorist attack in the eastern province of Diyala and says that the deadly blast makes the Iraqi people more united in fighting against ISIL Takfiri terrorists. Haider Al-Abadi said in a statement that the attack was a despicable crime by the terrorist group. He also vowed that the army and volunteer forces will continue fighting the terrorists until they are totally pushed out of the country. Russia also condemned Friday's terrorist attack and urged the international community to combine efforts to stop terrorism in the region. Now, the bomb attack in the eastern city of Khan Bani Sa'ad left at least 120 civilians dead and injured over 170 others as people were celebrating the end of the fasting month of Ramadan. The Iraqi government has announced 3 days of national mourning. Iraq has been witnessing near daily bombings, often claimed by ISIL. Crossing over to New York, joined by Middle East expert Mr. James Petros. Thank you so much for being with us. Well, let's look at the timing, first of all, of this tragedy. Over 120 civilians being killed, and at a time that is usually very festive at the end of the Islamic month, the fasting month of Ramadan, and done by a group calling itself an Islamic group. Does that help put things in perspective, the reality of this, that ISIL is not Islamic and actually terrorists, or how do you see it all, sir?
Well, I think, first of all, it's not a tragedy. It's a criminal act of terrorism. And I don't think it's simply confined to Iraq in this particular incident. ISIS receives very strong material support, moral support, and recruits from Saudi Arabia and some of the other Gulf monarchies. I think the responsibility for the terrorism in Iraq largely rests with the Saudi dictatorship. And I think ISIS carrying out this activity is not acting on the basis of Islamic morality. They're acting as mercenaries of the Saudi dictatorship. We should also mention that many of the volunteers, so-called, that come to Iraq cross the Turkish border. And so President Erdogan bears some responsibility, complicity with the acts that ISIS is carrying out. Moreover, we should recognize that the U.S.'s attitude toward many of the Saudi supporters, not only in Iraq, but in Yemen and other places, bears some responsibility. We should finally note on this issue that the Iraqi government has taken a very soft stand on many of the Sunni sympathizers, and this is not simply an act of an isolated group. They have support among some of the Sunni population, and they also bear some complicity with this vile
well,
act.
Mr. Petros, let me just jump in here. But so how does Iraq turn this around? You've talked about complicity by the Saudis, by the Turkish government, by many in the Persian Gulf Arab states, and with coordination or organization by the United States. So what is it going to take in order to turn this around? One, to save the sovereignty of Iraq, two, to bring stability back to that country?
Well, I think the first and foremost is to identify the intellectual authors, not simply the terrorists that are carrying on this act. And secondly, I think it's important for the Turkish border to be closed as an entryway for these terrorists. Thirdly, I think the government in Syria should be incorporated in the anti-terrorist alliance, along with the United States, Russia, and the other countries that are interested in a peaceful development in this area.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. Mr. James Petros, Middle East expert out of New York. Appreciate you being with us.